Alright, so we got this 87 350 here that I broke down a month ago or so, and I had some footage of it and I misplaced it, so we're going to go back over the story. This engine, when I first saw it, was in a 70s model K5. The boy had got it in the truck and was having problems getting everything hooked up because of the small differences in the early and the second gen 350. So the one piece rear main seal and the two piece rear main seal differences. So he sold me the engine and I pulled it out and I brought it home and I cleaned it up, put brass freeze plugs in it, and it was a non-roller cam motor. These 87 blocks are roller ready for the most part, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. They have the towers in the block here where these bolts thread in, and they're usually not threaded, but they're there so that you can put this plate in. They're already machined with recesses for the lifter retainer plates. So when I got this engine, I cleaned it up, I put the brass freeze plugs in it, and I pulled the flat tappet cam out and put a roller cam in it. It's just a stock grind roller cam. Doesn't have a whole bunch of lifter duration or anything. And then I rolled it up under the workbench, and it's set up under the workbench for 12 or 14 years. So I pulled it out the other week, and I pulled the pan off of it, and I mean, it wasn't locked up or anything, and I was like, I'm probably run this motor like it is. And then I started thinking about all the work it is to pull one back out, and so I said, well, I'll pop the pistons out of it and look at it, and I'll pull the heads and pop the pistons out and see what it looks like. Well, I did, and everything looked good. I was going to put it back together, and then I decided to put rings in it while I had it apart. And so in the process, I found two pistons that had the second compression ring stuck. So it's probably a good idea that I decided to do that. But anyhow, now we're at the point to where I'm ready to finish cleaning it up and put it back together. So I can pull the cam in the timing cover off of it and get ready to pull the crank out of it, so we can finish cleaning it up and put the main bearings in it and reassemble it. So that's where we're at right now, and we'll show you more as we go. Now, as you can see, on the front of this block is a cam retainer plate. And one of the easiest ways to tell a roller cam from a flat tappet cam on a small block Chevrolet is this bolt circle right here is smaller. And that's because the top of the cam is machined to where this cam retainer plate can fit over it. The front of the cam on a regular small block flat tappet cam, it'll be the same size all the way down to the cam gear. So that's a quick way to tell the difference between a roller tappet cam and a flat tappet cam out the block. But as you can see, I cleaned the block up really well. The timing cover's really clean, and it's got a new timing set on it. So this happened years ago when I cleaned it up, and I didn't have a use for it. I got it ready and was going to put it in something, but I never did. So here's the way it sits now. So we're gonna pop this crank out of here, which on a one-piece rear main seal involves pulling it off the stand so we can pull the flywheel and pull this adapter, this seal adapter cover off of it, which you can see, which you can't see, but it's there behind the flywheel. So we'll pull it off the stand here and we'll show you what I'm talking about. Alright, right here's the seal adapter I was talking about. And what it does is the it holds the rear main oil seal for these one-piece blocks, and then it's notched into the block to catch the last oil pan bolt. So we'll pull that off, and that way we can get the crank out, because the crank won't come out until that pulls off. So we'll get it off the stand so we can do that. So here's the rear seal retainer. It's got 1, 2, 3, 4 bolts holding it in. We'll pop them out, and we'll get this thing off. Alright, so there's the 3 bolts and a nut. So we'll get this retainer off. And there it is. You got the rear main seal, and then the block to adapter seal, which you see it broke right here on the corners. But that's what she looks like. Now we can get the crank out. Alright, so you can see the cam has still got assembly lube on it from where I put it in. And if you look carefully, you'll see the fuel pump lobe on this cam. A lot of roller cams that go in small block Chevrolets don't have a fuel pump lobe on them because they were made for fuel injected motors and they didn't need a fuel pump lobe. So be aware of that, because if you're going to run a mechanical fuel pump, you got to have a fuel pump lobe. Alright? So we got the block all cleaned up. The cylinders honed out. Just got to wipe them out real good with transmission fluid. I like to wipe them out with transmission fluid until my rag comes out clean. So, use one. When that one gets black, throw it out and just soak another one in transmission fluid, and then just wipe it out till it comes clean. And then the cylinders are clean enough to reassemble. So I cleaned it all up, but I left the main bearings in it. That way I popped them out, and all I got to do was wipe the bearing surfaces down, or the bearing journals, whatever, down, and then I can put the new bearings in and then lay the crank and get it all ready. So that's pretty much all I got to do with the block. So I got my pistons, and I took and wire brushed all around with just a handheld wire brush, and it got everything off the top and everything off the sides. Before I wire brushed it, I took a oil ring, the expander ring, and I just stuck it in the oil groove backwards and just scrubbed it to loosen up the carbon and grime and stuff. And then my wire brush, I got it down in there and cleaned it out. Now you can take and break one of the rings, and then you just stick it down in the groove and just use it to gently scrape the ring line clean. And then once you do that, you can blow them off, and they'll be ready to run your pistons up. So, like I said, I did that, wire brushed them up real good, and then I just sprayed them down with purple powder and let them soak for a second and rinsed them off, and then blew them off with some air. And now they're clean enough to ring up and put the bearings on. And I know I've said this before, but I like to use the old piston box. That way it's kind of like an assembly thing. You got each piston set up to what hole it goes in. You can ring all your pistons and put your bearings in, and then lay your rod cap in the same hole as it belongs to. Like when I take them apart, I take a Sharpie, I number them on the top, and I number the rod cap. That way you can keep them together. And like I said, then when you clean them up, you stick them in a box. You all got them sorted according to the way you go. You turn them to where the piston's facing the front in the box. So there you go. There they are lined up. And you take your rod cap and lay it in a box with your bearings all in your rod and your rings on your rod. And that way when you go to assemble it, your short block, all your stuff's there and ready for it to put together. So we'll get these pistons ringed up and put bearings in the rods, and they'll be ready to go.